Welcome, everybody, at the online International Knowledge Day of the Rotterdam Rooftop Days. My name is Léon van Geest, and I'm the director of the Rotterdamse Dakendagen, as we call the Rotterdam Rooftop Days in Holland. We are very sad that we cannot invite our general audience at our festival at the beautiful rooftops of Rotterdam, because we think in these times those rooftops can provide the space we so desperately need, the feeling of freedom which rooftops bring. And we're also sad that we cannot host you in a wonderful space somewhere high in Rotterdam, looking over all the beautiful rooftops, but you are at home. But we did not let that stop us. We went underground. We are here in a parking garage, the heart of the architecture, the Rotterdam Month of Architecture. It's an exhibition in a parking garage. And we are here all day. In a strange way, it seemed a fitting environment to talk about rooftops and how they connect to the other layers of the city, like this is a layer of the city. Yesterday, we presented here our rooftop catalog we made with MVRDV and the municipality of Rotterdam. We're very proud of it. It was a joyous evening yesterday, and it will be a joyous day today. We have made a wonderful program. We don't expect you to be here all day. It's a festival, just pick everything that interests you. And we did our best to make a very interesting program. In the afternoon, we have our top, a summit about a sustainable layered city. And we have lunch together in informal, interactive workshops. But we start with our feet in the soil and our head in the clouds with dreams of rooftop farming. So without any further ado, I will give the floor to René Roymans, who is your host of the day.
Thank you, Léon. Welcome, everybody. As Léon was saying, we're not on a rooftop today, but we're probably just as far below the main level as we would be on rooftop. So somehow, you know, in a diverse way, we are on a rooftop below the ground. Welcome. Also welcome Wouter and Emiel next to me. I will introduce you in a little bit. For all the people out there, welcome. And I would advise you to put your view mode on speaker view, because we will be having international rooftop farmers coming in and sharing screens. So speaker view would be the best way to look at this presentation today. I'm René, I'm your host for today, and I'm very honored to host several rooftop farmers this morning, because in the rooftop movement, we've been seeing a lot of activity on rooftops that doesn't only provide a space for leisure or parties, but also actual production of food, education, all kinds of things that we will discuss today. And I think the Rooftop Farmers Meetup is really meant to bring people together, obviously, sadly, not in real life, but that will follow hopefully later in the year or next year. And today we will also look at sort of the start of this network of rooftop farmers in Europe and see what we can grow as a network. Basically, Wouter, Emiel, you are the most local rooftop farmers that we have here in Rotterdam. Welcome today. How is it to be a rooftop farmer and to join all these rooftop farmers in Europe today, Wouter?
Well, fantastic. Yeah, and I think at first I would like to thank all the rooftop farmers who make time to join this conference, because it's a high season and all rooftop farmers know that it's really busy this time of the year. And then a conference in the middle of this high season is a lot extra work. So first of all, I would like to say that. Yeah,
that's really nice. And Emiel, for you, how is it to gather today as a rooftop farmer?
It's great. The first time that so many rooftop farmers from Europe are in today. It's really great to hear the stories. We know a lot of rooftop farms. We have been, of course, in Copenhagen, in OsterGro, and we know Sabien from Ghent is also coming up next as one of the speakers. And of course, in Brussels, it's now, we were the largest farm in Europe, and we started in 2012. But now big in Brussels, on Anderlecht in Brussels. is, I think, the biggest farm now in Europe functioning, and Paris, of course, after Brussels.
Yeah.
But it's very nice to meet a lot of people we have met already on the roof, because we were for some of the rooftop farms inspiration. We were the first big rooftop farm in Europe, I think, in 2012. And it's great to see them. Yeah, it's a pity that's online, but we hope that we are meeting them in autumn or something, or next year, really together. It's much more nice. But this is great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think something we mentioned, and you mentioned it as well. Rooftop farming is, of course, sort of a seasonal urbanism activity, because you have certain periods in the year where it's very busy. And now it is very busy. So probably a more fall timing would be good for rooftop farmers.
Because now the rooftop farmers are on the roof busy. They can't follow the online session now because they are really busy now. It's Friday, every Friday we work on the roof, and Wednesdays. So with about 10 or 15 volunteers also. Yeah. So they can't see us now.
They can't even join. Well, luckily we are recording the session, so we can look it back later. Yeah. That's the whole day. You can look at you can look at afterwards. If you miss a workshop or if you miss a session, you can always look it up later. One thing I want to ask you still is, you're both very driven people, and I would really like to know what drives you to actually run a rooftop farm. Can you name a couple words that would be the key of that?
The key, well, I like being in a big city. There's a lot of energy over there. I like views, so then you have to be on a roof or on a mountain, but you don't have them in the Netherlands. Yeah. I like being in green spaces. I like working with other people. So the combination of those aspects all come together at the rooftop farm.
Beautiful. And
we started the rooftop farm as a sort of experiment to show people. I like to inspire people with examples, and I think the Dakakker rooftop farm is an example. And the nicest thing I always tell when our groups on the roof, excursion groups, is that we have an office. I'm working for the environmental center. We have an office on the 3rd floor. It's really great to go out in your own building in a really nice green space, because in the season it's really a really nice green, almost park space with food production. There is a restaurant also, so you can drink cappuccino. There's Wi-Fi, so you're in your own building outside, and it's I like the most. And making really new spaces in the city. It can be a food production roof or park or other thing, but you will have this in the afternoon.
Yeah, so in the workshops we will have a lot of these teams coming by. There's different kind of rooftop farms also. We will see in the presentations in a little bit. I think one of my last questions for now, before we start the presentations, would be, I'm curious because I love food and I'm really interested in growing food, but what can you grow on a rooftop? I think we will also have a lot of examples later, but I have a couple things here. I really like rhubarb. Who doesn't like rhubarb, right? Can you grow this on a rooftop?
Well, when you have a thin layer of substrate, it's not really possible to grow them because they have a big roots. But we have boxes on the edges of the building, and they are quite deep. And we have rhubarb over there. So in our case, yes, you can grow rhubarb on the rooftop.
Yeah.
Aha, so it depends on the lawyer. You've seen apple as well. That's right.
We had an apple tree, but
you had an apple, and it's gone.
Yeah, it was on the edge of the roof, and we give it away because when apples fall 9 stairs, 9.
Yeah, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah, it fall down on your head. So we give, but we have other trees, but no apples anymore. But tomatoes.
Tomatoes, yeah.
This kind of tomatoes we have a lot.
Different colored tomatoes. We will see actually a farmer also passing by in the presentations who grows a lot of tomatoes. And herbs, I mean, it's maybe, of course, dry, sunny.
Yeah, we sell our products to about 6 restaurants before the corona, of course. And the chiefs, the people who cook in the restaurant, always say that our herbs are more stronger and tasteful because it's really like Italy on our roof, the climate.
Yeah.
And we have substrate, it's hot, a lot of wind, and the herbs are more tasteful. And they say, I think so, but they have experience with it. But
probably because there's more stress, they also try to become stronger, right?
Well, and herbs usually are Mediterranean plants, and the substrate on the rooftop, it's quite rocky. Yeah. There's a lot of wind. It can be really hot. It can be really dry, and these are perfect growing circumstances for herbs.
Would you say, because we have only one rooftop farmer joining from the Mediterranean today, the rest, Italy, Torino, exactly, Emanuela. The rest are all in the northern part of Europe. What can you say? Is that something that we are trying to do? Have more Mediterranean farming in northern European cities?
Well, sometimes I say on the rooftop we have a Mediterranean climate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe it's not always temperature Mediterranean, but all the other circumstances come quite near to a Mediterranean climate.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, we will travel through Europe together, guided by the stories of several rooftop farmers, 8 in total. I don't know if there's already any questions in the chat. I think we are basically good to go. So I will start sharing my screen with the photos. And then Wouter, we start in Rotterdam because we can start easy in the vicinities. Oh, it's starting to actually present now. I will stop that. Here we go. You can. The floor is yours. Where are we?
Well, thank you. This is the rooftop of the Schietblok. It's an old building in the city center of Rotterdam, 1,000 square meters, and about 15 years ago, this building is renovated. And I think about 10 years ago, a bit earlier, we arrived there with the environmental center. So we have our office at the 3rd floor. And so when we arrived there, we found a rooftop like this. And of course, we are an environmental center. We want the city to be as green and sustainable as possible. So we thought, let's do this on our own roof. Then there seemed to be a green roof subsidy program. So we tried if we could get some money over there. And we started making plans, of course. And in the meanwhile, we found out that our neighbors, which is an architecture company, they called Zus, also had plans to make the roof green. So when we found this out, we combined our forces and the Dakakker concept developed. And then they joined a contest. It's called the City Initiative. And then if you live in Rotterdam and you have a nice idea for the outdoor space, you can make a plan. Then all the citizens in Rotterdam could vote. And then the city initiative of the Luchtsingel, the air way, yellow one, bridge through the city center, won the prize. And it was initiated by Zus. So there are a couple of hotspots in this air bridge, and one of the hotspots is the Dakakker. So when they won the prize, there was already a plan, and they had money to make the rooftop. And then within 3 weeks, there was a rooftop farm. Yeah, only at that moment there was no rooftop farmer.
Wow. There it is, the rooftop farm.
Yeah. So this wasn't the first year, because the first year was quite dramatic. We didn't really know how to grow plants. The substrate wasn't not really suitable. So within 1 year, some experts came on the roof. We did some tests, a lot of learning, a lot of asking. Because we were the first one in Europe, there wasn't really anyone that we could go to and ask for some information. So with regular farmers, we had conversations, and well, after a year, it started looking like this. I think this is already the third year. So yeah, we learned quite fast. Yeah, and what you can see here is not me, because we work with a great group of volunteers. We have a waiting list for volunteers, and these are just a couple of them. Every Friday morning we work on the rooftop, and it's fun. It's great. We have a good time, and we also do great work. This is an overview from the rooftop. This is, I think, the Rotterdam Rooftop Days 2 years ago, or maybe already 3, but I think it's 2 years ago. Yeah, as you can see, a lot of people on the rooftop. I think we have 10,000s of visitors every year. It's amazing. It's something that we could have never think of when we started the rooftop farm, that it would be such a success. For that reason, we also chose that the roof is not public anymore, because there was just so many damage that we could not let all these people on the rooftop again. And of course, we grow food over there, so it has to be hygienic also.
I also see a lot of flowers.
You see a lot of flowers. Yeah, that's one of the main products that we sell. Emiel already told in the introduction that we sell the products to restaurants, and edible flowers is a really special product. When you pick a flower, it becomes weak or flat very fast, especially in summer at these hot days. So when you are a farmer and it takes 1 or 2 days before your flower is in the restaurant, it's already not look nice.
And I guess also the energy in the flower, the nutritions.
Exactly, yeah. So our profit is that we are in the city center of Rotterdam, and all these restaurants we can walk or cycle. So
as we do in Holland.
Exactly. So yeah, we pick the flowers just an hour before we deliver them with some wet towels, and they go to the restaurants and they put them in the fridge immediately. And this is the only way to keep the flowers well.
Is that also maybe a thing that we will see with more rooftop farmers? That flowers are, I mean, there's flowers on the main floor and in the city, but I think on a rooftop you can keep them clean and maybe more protected than others.
Well, we visited some farms. We didn't visit all the farms that will present themselves today. And I saw some flowers at the other farms, but probably the farmers will tell that themselves. I'm curious about that.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question for the farmers out there. What do we have here?
Well, as you see, there are kids, and we do not have child labor on the roof, but we have an education program. And well, we learn the kids a bit about the farm life and nature, and we let them discover the roof. For example, we ask them, okay, you can eat some carrots, go look and find them. And after 5 minutes, they come back and they cannot find the carrots because they don't know that they are into the soil. So it's a great discovery for them that they see that carrots grow in the soil and not on the tree. And then they can clean them themselves and cut them in small pieces and eat them. And actually, they really like eating the carrots because it's from their own hands out of the soil. Yeah.
They discovered it themselves.
Exactly, yeah. But besides that, we let them water the plants. They can put some onions in the soil. If they're lucky, we have some strawberries or raspberries. There's also a water table, so we learn them about a gray city and a green city and the advantages of green roofs. And in the water table, they can be rain clouds, so they both have a watering can, and they spray it on the gray city and on the green city. And of course, then it's really fast, really obvious that the green city, all the water stays on the roofs, and in the gray city, all the water is on the street level.
Yeah.
And, just within 1 minute, they understand why it's so important to have green roofs in the city.
I think it's really interesting that learning about how the city works somehow seems to kick off. Now we're talking about rooftops more, because rooftops are kind of a place where everything meets, all the elements, and where you can actually have a lot of impact as well. So I'm also curious, we'll talk about that later around 11, to see like what are we actually doing by greening rooftops or having rooftop farms in the city. I think there's a lot of impact that you cannot see. And I think it's great that showing children how the city works, how water works. Water management is really big in Holland, of course. It's a daily practice that we cannot see. We cannot even be part of it really as residents.
Exactly, yeah. And there's so many opportunities on rooftops, and for that reason, the rooftop days are an excellent way to show what is possible on these rooftops. Yeah. And I always say when the kids come, we put a seed in their head, and hopefully when they grow up, their circumstances are right, and then some green parts in their brain will develop.
I'm already thinking, what kind of seeds do you put in their heads, and do they grow? Do the plants actually grow?
Well, we have to see that when they grow old.
You would invite them back, of course. Yeah, nice, beautiful. And I see other visitors as well. Who are these people?
Yeah, so we're not mainly focused on producing for restaurants. Of course, it's a part of the way we earn some money, but I think the most income comes from giving tours. And well, last year we didn't hardly give any tours, but the year before we gave 160 tours.
Wow.
And it's amazing that from all over the world, people come and ask us if they can come to the rooftop, and we can tell about it. I think this group is from Korea, somewhere in that region. And as you look really good, you can see one Dutch person, and he is the guide. And he already gave more than 100 tours.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think what is really funny that I worked on an urban farm in Vancouver with Michael Levinston. Emiel already said that he knew him, and I had the same visitors.
Really?
Yes. And they were also visiting the Knowledge Day a couple of years ago, and I used a photo of them in my presentation, which was hilarious. But I think it's really cool that also rooftop farmers from around the world, they travel to other places where things are happening and where they can learn and exchange. I think that's really, really cool to see. And then, of course, we already talked about flowers, but what do you need to have flowers and also to have fruit? I mean, apples and all these things. What do we see here? Is this you?
This is me, yeah. I was a beekeeper before I was a rooftop farmer. So when I became a rooftop farmer, I took one hive to the rooftop and see if it was a suitable place for the bees. And it seemed to be like that. Later on, together with Raymond, I will give a workshop about keeping bees on rooftop. So if you're interested, please join us. These are two hives. One of the hives I made myself. At the moment, we only have completely wooden hives.
Mm-hmm.
3 swarms last week. 1 I couldn't catch, 2 I could catch. So at the moment, we have 4 hives.
Wow.
Yeah.
And are rooftops specifically good, like a little preview to the workshop? Are they specifically good habitat for our bees?
Well, rooftops not specifically, but the city is a good place to keep bees because there's a lot of diversity in flowers. People also like being surrounded by flowers, so they take care that from early spring until late autumn there are flowers around them, and the bees, they profit from that.
Yeah.
And of course, for us, it's healthy to have a diverse diet. And if you are a bee and you live in the city, you have a diverse choice in flowers and pollen.
Amazing. Really cool. Yeah, so you can join the workshop later. I think we are already at the end of your presentation. And I want to ask, because I think one thing I really find really interesting is that it's really innovative and you're all pioneering as rooftop farmers, and yet you really look each other up. You visit each other's cities, each other's farms. And our next rooftop farmer, Sabien from Ghent, she also visited you. I think,
and the other way around.
And the other way around. So maybe how Emiel, how do you remember Sabine, and how have you seen her grow?
Well, I met Sabine maybe 7-8 years ago already, and then she came with her father to the rooftop, and she said she wants something to do with roofs, and she found out about the Dakakker. And driving from Ghent to Rotterdam is about 1.5 hours, so that's quite nearby. So we had a nice talk, and later on she came again. And of course, I was also curious because at some point she said, "Wow, okay, I've done the same." Of course, I was curious, and I visited her again back.
We can actually wave. Sabine, so nice of you to visit.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, it was a nice meeting.
How are you? Are you on the rooftop?
No, I'm on my boat. I'm from the deck to the dock. I'm on my boat today. Yeah. René, can you maybe show the next picture first?
Ja.
Kan zij iets harder worden gezet?
Ja, dat is moeilijk volgens mij.
Wow.
Thank you. So, like Wouter said, I came to visit the Dakakker in 2014 with my father. We were planning to build together an aqua farming installation at that time. But the plans changed a little bit, and I was then working at the university, the Department of Construction and Building. So I was thinking a lot of the city of the future. I was working on a project, the city of the future, and how the city could look like, how we could be more self-sufficient. And suddenly I realized, yeah, in Belgium we're very densely populated, as in Holland. So we're really fighting for space, and in the cities there are a lot of spaces that we didn't use. We used them for sedum plants or for solar panels, but we didn't use them for social functions. Or so it's at that period that I realized, okay, I want to do something with the rooftop, and I want to become a rooftop farmer. And I think only 1 year later, this is the thing that we built. So I found a company center focusing on social impact, who wanted to join my story, and they were building a new building. Because, as you know, a rooftop, it weighs a lot, especially when it's saturated with water. So I was able to convince the board of this company center to make the roof more strong. It's built for 500 kilograms per square meter. And then we started. I didn't start immediately on this rooftop because, as Wouter said, at that time I was the first in Belgium doing this, and there wasn't a lot of information. Thank God Wouter was so kind to share all this knowledge, so that was really nice. But we started off at a temporary place, and there I did research with a supplier of substrates. We tested for substrate, so the soil, more mineral soils, more organic soils. And then I just observed the plants for a year, what grows well, what doesn't grow well. And then after that year, and also we started testing some concepts, because my mission was also to become an independent cooperative business. So we are not funded, so we're completely independent. So we were testing out how can we make a business out of this. And so the best substrate we used on the final farm, which you see here, it's when you compare it to BIGH or Dakakker, it's much more smaller. It's 500 square meters, but it's completely. It has a complete layer of 30 centimeters of soil everywhere. So we have a lot of possibilities on the rooftop. And René, maybe you can go to the first slide now. In the beginning, we mainly focused on horeca, so catering and restauration. You see it in the first picture. Can you show that? So we were a team with 2 amazing chefs, and so all the herbs and the lettuce and everything we used in our own kitchen. And we did catering, vegetarian catering for B2B events. So events from 30 to 100 people. And it was a huge success. And then, but of course, it was B2B, so business to business. So in the summer, we had less work. which is a contrast with because then everything is growing and blooming. So we decided in 2016 to start rooftop dinners. And here you see a picture. It was in a tent structure, and it was amazing. So we had 2 long tables, a 5-course dinner. Everybody ate the same menu, so it was kind of an experience that people subdue. They also got a tour from the farmer, and we did this for 6 weeks to 1,200 people, and it was always sold out 3 months in advance completely, and waiting lists of 400 people. So it was spot on. It was really nice to do. But the unfortunate thing, and that's the thing about pioneering, you you don't know everything in advance. So and you pay a lot of learning money. So we didn't have any fixed construction to do this the entire year, because this would be a really good thing. Also, the choice of doing horeca was not only about the commercial thing, but also about our reach. We wanted to reach a lot of people, and you don't, in that time, gardening wasn't so so popular as now. So, but everybody likes to eat. So we really reached a lot of people. I think over a year, we also reached 10 to 12,000 people with our food and with our other concepts. But then due to COVID as well, and also the lack of good infrastructure, unfortunately, we decided to stop the horeca. And now the garden is transformed to a community garden. So we have 25 rooftop farmers who rent the place from Roofwood. We support them, and they do it quite independently. So they have a VZW, a non-profit little organization. And so they make up the rooftop plan together. We support them, so they do it in a collective way. Everybody does his part. Some do the watering, some do the seeding, the planting, and then they divide the harvest. So this is going on now. It's really great, because you see that also with COVID, people are in need of green. We call it the green pub. So the brown pub was closed for a year. This is now the green pub, and you can meet people in a very easy manner and work or talk or not talk, whatever. So it's really, I think it's a really nice model, and they have a lot of square meters. It's also with a piece of land downstairs, so they have 40 square meters per person, so they can really also get a beautiful harvest out of it. And that's a bit what we are also doing on different spots. So I think as a pioneer, we learned a lot commercially, the business concept, but also technically. We did a lot of research. We investigated our soil. And now we are also advising other projects of starting up urban farming. So that's my story.
Yeah, thank you, Sabien, so much. And I think it's really, it's inspiring, and also I think good in a way that sometimes projects change, as you said, like the aim you had in the beginning, you learn, you try things out, and obviously the recent circumstances, have been of a huge impact for everyone, I think, involved. And I think there's even a farmer, Brian from Cork, Ireland, who actually started because of COVID. So that's another angle to it. What is for you the most important thing to exchange with fellow rooftop farmers, or what would you say this network could aim for in the coming years?
I'm very glad to see that the network is evolving, because it wasn't at the time, because I think rooftop farmers didn't have the time to do this, because it's very challenging as well. And like I said, you can gain a lot of energy by exchanging. And because I think in Europe, everybody is having a different model, has different approach, and also different typologies of rooftops, which have a huge impact on the model, the location, the height, the shape, the surface, the winds, the soil, everything. So yeah, it's my dream also to make like maybe we can make a book with all the typologies of rooftops, and then it can guide people to start up rooftops in a more easy way and more
I think that's a really cool idea. We're also exchanging on a European level. We're exchanging knowledge about heritage, about rooftops. So we might come back to that later in the discussion. But thank you so much, Sabien. And yeah, we hope to see you in the future, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we are traveling to a place there where you have been, in Copenhagen.
Oh,
actually.
nice.
Carly is joining us today. She's both gardener and a chef, so that's she has her hands in all the fields of the rooftop farm. Yeah, can you share a little bit about the farm itself?
Yeah, it's a great farm, and they have an elevator to their roof, big elevator, because it's on a parking garage, on the top of a parking garage. So we are quite jealous that we have one stairs from our elevator, and we help them also building. One of our people, rooftop farmers, went there when they started to build, and they built it in 3 or 4 days. It was a lot of work. And we visit them a few times. We have a lot of contact with Christian, one of the founders, and yeah, it's a very nice place to have a look when you are in Copenhagen. And there is a wonderful restaurant that's always sold out or full reservation.
Have you eaten there?
No,
or?
never, because it's almost impossible to make a reservation over there.
Well, Carly can maybe share a little bit about
so.
when we can have a dinner all together.
Yeah.
Yes, Carly, welcome. Hi there from the studio.
Hello, hi from Copenhagen. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, we'll try to get you a reservation and at the roof next time you're around.
Great, that's I will write that down. Yeah, welcome. I think I looked up different words for a rooftop farm in different languages. And is it takterrasse in Danish?
Taufarm.
Ah, okay, so a little bit different. That's
yeah, but I'm also not Danish, so
okay.
My pronunciation you can't count on.
Well, then we are both on the same side. Yeah, I think there's a lot of firsts, right? The first in Rotterdam, the first in Ghent. You were also the first in Copenhagen, I think. And I do think, and it's one of your colleagues that also went to one of the really first sort of mothers of rooftop farms in New York, the Brooklyn Grange.
Yeah, that's right. One of our founders, Livia, went there and was really inspired and had a great experience. I actually just recently asked her where she felt like she's learned the most about rooftop farming and also just growing in general, and she said the Brooklyn Grange. So
cool. Yeah, unfortunately they couldn't make it today, also due to the time difference. We also need to think about that. It's a lot to think about, but they do send their regards, and they're happy that we're meeting, and I think they're actually sad that they have to miss this. But over to you, Carly. You can share us all about, take us to Denmark, please.
Right. Yeah. So I have a little bit different perspective, I guess, because I'm not one of the founders, but the rooftop started in 2014, and it was a CSA program. So for those of you who haven't worked with it or don't know, then that's just community supported agriculture. So they had 16 families who paid like a set price at the beginning of the season, and then they came every week and got the harvest from the rooftop. And like you said, Emiel, it was a very like quick and involved process of setting it up with a lot of volunteers, and also like the carpentry school was there helping to build the beds and the chicken coop. So it started, there for 2014, and then in 2017, they converted the greenhouse also into the restaurant, which is now Grosse Bisserie. And I also work in the restaurant, so I came in 2017, and I've been a part of it since then. But as you can like here in this photo, you see an event. We have weddings up there, so people will be like standing in between the beds for the wedding, and then you can go into the greenhouse, and it's communal seating. So when you're at the restaurant, you're sitting with 25 other people all at the same table. Well, that's before COVID, because you're really like shoulder to shoulder. And it's really a fun setup, I think, because no matter what, you are forced to talk to the person sitting right next to you, and it might be a stranger. And you build really good connections just throughout your meal, also because you're sharing food. And so then you can go to the next photo. Yeah, here's Livia. So she was one of the founders, and also with our chickens that are living in it was the far left corner that you saw. And so the CSA members, they help to take care of the chickens, and they also get and come and collect the eggs. And we connect it to the restaurant as well, because when the chefs can't use something, they try really hard to preserve it or dehydrate it. But just like us in the garden, when we're weeding or we have anything to compost, we run it through the chickens first, and that helps us create that circular process, and they're very, very happy about it as well.
That's a really good one. Animals on rooftops. The chickens are also part of the rooftop movement, I think.
Yeah.
And more animals.
Yeah, the chickens also have two friends who are rabbits, and they're very popular. Their names are Pedro and Lisbeth.
That's nice.
Yeah. So here is our beehives. We have 3 in the like closer left corner, and Christian takes care of them. He's really knowledgeable about that, but he also always brings in volunteers who are visiting, and children when they come with their schools, and they get to put on the suits and learn all about what he's doing, and try to find the queen, and the members will also get honey every once in a while when we harvest it, and the chefs use the honeycomb a lot. Like right now on the menu for dessert, there's the honeycomb, so they make really good use of the beehives as well. Yeah, so this is the rooftop at dinner time. You can see the guests are eating inside, and also like we have flowers for the members of the CSA and also for volunteers. So you can see in this a lot of nasturtium popping up and the sunflowers. So yeah, it just makes it beautiful, but also they're edible. So, well, the nasturtium. So you can have that as well. Yeah, and here's the very beginning, building the beds. So
I think this is really. Do you know how much soil there is? Like, what is the layer? I heard 30 centimeters from Sabien. Do you have statistics on your rooftop?
I think it's pretty similar, but I know that when we first came, there was 110 tons of soil, and the rooftop is 600 square meters. And like Emiel mentioned, yeah, it's helpful that it was used to be a car auction house, the building, so it can hold the weight of cars and soil.
Yeah, fun. I think that's one of the things that we can also maybe exchange about is like, what kind of soil do you use? Some rooftop farms have experimented with it. Others have used something local or something that farmers, general farmers also use. Thanks. Let's see if there's one more. Yeah, I picked this one because I thought this was really beautiful. What is this girl picking here?
That's Livia, and she's picking fennel, our very wild wall of fennel.
Wow, that's beautiful. It grows so big.
It does, yeah. It really is like it pops when you come up the staircase, because if you don't take the elevator, you have to walk up a very treacherous spiral staircase. So
I hear a sigh here on my left.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe for the last question for you, like what would be for you, valuable to share with fellow rooftop farmers?
Well, I guess I can say two things. One is like what you just mentioned with the soil. In our soil, we use bricks. So they are all mixed in, these pieces of bricks, and they're absorbent of the water. But when they absorb it, it's not nearly as heavy as when the soil does. So that helps us keep the weight down. So that's one thing that I would share. But then on a more like connectivity level, I think just for me, one of the most valuable things is the volunteer days, and that's how I originally got involved. So the human element and the connection around growing in the city, I think, is really a cornerstone of what makes it successful.
Beautiful. I think that also already kind of popped up in some of the mentioned things. Even, why are you a rooftop farmer? Because I want to be around people. That's I think a great line. Thank you so much, Carly.
Thank you. It's really
I
fun
still
to
have
be
questions from here, Wouter, Emiel.
Oh, say hi to Livia and Christian when you see them again.
I definitely will.
All right. Thank you.
Alrighty, well, see you at the workshop. I think it's really cool that restaurants are also popping up on rooftops, and Carly will join Valerie and Dennis from 2 rooftop restaurants in the Netherlands for the workshop at 12:30. So make sure to go there if you want to start your own restaurant on a rooftop. Next up, we are traveling to a new rooftop farm, at least fairly new, started in COVID times. Brian is joining us all the way from Ireland. Did you know about him?
On Instagram. He's very active.
He's very active on Instagram.
Only,
Brian, you are visible. You have been seen.
I follow him.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool. That you're joining us, Brian. Thank you so much for making the time, because I also know that you are very, very busy, not only farming on rooftops, but also on direct soil. I've seen also. Welcome. I think we can't get your sound. Let's check with our technicians if that's on our end. We are not hearing his voice. You're also not? Ooh. No, we can't hear you, Brian. Our technicians will chat with you. It's on your end, I guess.
Oh yeah, he's red.
I think he's trying.
The speaker is out.
And now he's muted.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. You're making it very exciting. I think this. I was hoping for this.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. So yeah, you can see here this is where it all started from pretty messy, humble beginnings. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I guess around late March last year, I have a wholesale fresh flower business. I had to close that business, and in Ireland, everyone was forced to quarantine, basically to stay at home. We weren't allowed to travel outside 3 kilometers for exercise, so I couldn't even travel up to work. It was outside my distance. So this rooftop is available out the back of my apartment. It used to be the former premises of our wholesale flower business. So it's been like this, like many rooftops for maybe 60 years, just barren. But it's a very, very secure structure. It was built actually to be 5 or 6 stories taller initially back in the 50s, 60s, but those plans never came to fruition. So it's a very strong structure. So we'd no problems with putting considerable weight up on it. But we started it with, I guess, not really any massive intentions. It was just to grow, I guess, a bit of a homesteading situation on the rooftop for ourselves. And we said we'd document that process then on Instagram and see what people thought of it. And it resonated quite strongly with people. I think a lot of people at the time were finding it difficult with lockdowns and all the rest. So to see a kind of a good news story come out of it really, really resonated with people, and they enjoyed to see the progress.
You think that got out of hand a little bit?
Just a little. So didn't really expect what came.
What's going wrong?
But what photo is that?
Sorry, the other picture isn't working, so I'm just going to the next.
Okay. But yeah, so we set about, we built raised beds with and filled them with soil and compost, and grew our crops and that. I don't know why that's not working. Might be in portrait mode. But so it so we grew everything in raised beds. We got a small little polytunnel on the roof. That's a bit better.
I'm gonna try to see.
So you can see the raised bed. Yeah, great. So again, it was very simple. We salvaged things we could get our hands on. We couldn't travel anywhere to get materials or anything like that. So even getting compost and soil onto the roof during the pandemic was a big chore. Farming was seen as an essential business at the time. So that's kind of what led to us registering as a farming business, in order to just have just to be able to receive deliveries. So basically in a kind of a 2 to 3 month period, we built these raised beds, and we installed a polycarbonate tunnel on the rooftop, which now houses our grow towers. So it's modest enough in size. So it's 80 meters squared, but we can grow 4,500 plants in that space using vertical growing. So there's a mixture of leafy greens, herbs, Asian greens, and we also tried a bit with tomatoes and things like that. But really, these are the kind of the crops that work best for us in this environment. And it allows us to grow a substantial amount of food, which we supply then onto the farmers market that runs on the street adjacent to our premises on a Saturday morning. And we also supply into restaurants and businesses around the city. So everything that we grow is supplied within a kind of about a 1 to 2 kilometer radius of the rooftop. So that's kind of where we target our produce. So it's
I think one interesting question that I have, because I talked to Emiel and Wouter about your farm, and especially about these vertical farming techniques. And they were saying they wanted it, but it wasn't available then. It wasn't shipped to Europe. Where did you get these? Yeah,
it was a tower farm. So there's tower farms in the US shipped it to us. It was difficult enough to get the shipment, but there was an agent in Ireland, and she's actually from Cork. So she had started her own 12 tower farm about January of that year. So again, it was just really poor timing, and unfortunately due to the pandemic with her, she set it up in a garden center, and that garden center had to close, so she had to break down her tower farm. She couldn't even travel there to maintain it. So we actually ended up taking over some of her towers and trialing them for a period last summer to see was this something that we wanted to do.
That's pretty
and then we put in an order for 60 of them, which we received in early December of last year, and so we've been growing with them now for the past 6 months.
And would you recommend this this technique to other rooftop farmers in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it just allows you to get, I guess, if you really want to have a commercial element, I guess, to production, and your rooftop space is limited, this is probably the most efficient way to grow. You know, where if we were to do this, say, flat in the raised beds, the entire rooftop would be taken over by the raised beds, and that wouldn't allow us to do maybe some of the other enterprises then that we want to do on the rooftop. So this allows us to have very dense production, but it allows us also to feature our raised beds outside, then kind of showcasing a different form of growing, and we're able to grow root crops and things like that then, which wouldn't be possible in the like their potatoes there. So in Ireland we like our potatoes. So yeah, so the tower is really, and it's just it's a very modern form of growing, I guess, and it's trying to show different angles on urban agriculture. So this, you know, using towers wouldn't be advisable, obviously, out on a farm in the countryside. It makes sense, but in our context, it makes sense to use this. We're using 5 to 10% of the water than that is used in say soil based. It's constantly recycled. It's very low energy needs, and it's also very lightweight, which is important for a rooftop as well, because we're trying.
And as a fairly new rooftop farmer to the gang, what would you say? Are you continuing this? Are you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the big thing for us has been to try and focus on what's the next thing, Joe, because there's been, since this has started, I guess, even just in general, as a result of the pandemic, there's been a massive renaissance, I think, in horticulture, and people growing their own food are taking more of a vested interest in where their food comes from. So that's led to, I guess, popularity in what we're doing, and we kind of want to keep pushing that forward. So we plans to open up a restaurant also on the rooftop in the next 3 to 4 months, and we have a commercial unit which links onto the main street. So we'll be linking the rooftop, so people will be able to come on from the ground level now. It's not been possible until now. Just to, I suppose, being on a rooftop, it's important that we have all the relevant insurance and all the red tape kind of ticked off. So it's important that we have that in place. So now we're kind of getting to a stage where we can allow the public on, we can bring volunteers in, and I think that'll really kickstart the next stage of the rooftop farm then.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's, I think, really inspiring, probably also for the others to see how quickly you built this up. So keep it going. And we obviously will be in touch, and we will come to your restaurant as well as soon as we can fly out. Yes, thank you so much. Thanks. And stick around for the other farmers, obviously, if you want. And up next, it's actually really cold here in this funny upside down rooftop, as I'm going to call it from now on. But we're going to a warm place now. We're going to Italy, our actual Mediterranean rooftop farm. Have you been?
I visited the place, a couple of years ago, and I met Emanuela too. Yeah.
yeah, we're having Emanuela joining us here. Hello.
Hi, hello everyone. Hi, it's a great pleasure for us being part of this panel today. Thank you all for inviting us, and thank you, Wouter, because I have also sent a lot of students to his rooftop, and they wrote him a lot of emails to interview him. So he has always been very kind. So thank you so much.
I have contact with Lorenzo. You know him?
Yeah, Lorenzo. Yeah.
He's now the sheep farmer on another rooftop in Rotterdam.
Yeah. So, we have a kind of connections, and it was also possible thanks to our friends in Milan by the group Rooftop Matters. So there is a kind of triangle between Turin, Milan, and Rotterdam. So thank you for inviting us today.
And Emanuela, how do you say rooftop farm in Italian? I thought fattoria sul tetto.
Yes, actually, we use fattoria when we have animals mainly. So it's more about orto sul tetto, we would say.
Is that also where the name comes from, Orto Alti?
Exactly. Orti Alti means high orchards, high gardens. Yeah. So yeah, we are a cultural association actually, so a non-profit organization. We funded our organization, I would say 6 years ago, but we started with these experiments in 2010. We did the first community rooftop garden in Turin on the roof of the office of my colleague. We are both architects. And Elena was the owner of the building, and it was I would say a prototype. And afterwards, we started developing a kind of action research project, because we are also researchers. I work at the Polytechnic School of Turin as a urban sociology researchers. I'm an urbanist, so I keep together these all different souls. And we wanted to understand if rooftop gardens or rooftop farming could be considered a device for urban regeneration that can combine, environmental requalification with the social inclusion, food production, and economical benefits. So we wanted to test all these kind of positive spillovers together. And so we developed our, as you see in this picture, our first pilot project in 2016. It is on the roof of a former foundry. You can go on with the pictures because there's not an order. It's we are just all put together, so you can just go. It's a slideshow, I would say. So yes, as I said, we chose a very challenging building. It was public owned. It is still public owned, but it also inside these buildings there are different social cooperatives and associations working for the neighborhood. We are in the periphery of Turin, a not very rich neighborhood, I would say. And the idea was to recover this roof, also to switch on a light on a building that it was an historical, an heritage, cultural heritage, but it was forgotten totally. In fact, it was built in the 30s, so there's a quality, architectural quality, totally forgotten. And we decided that could be an interesting device to start a regeneration process also of the building. And the other resource that was there was the present. It was the fact that there was there a restaurant run by a social cooperative. So the idea was to develop a garden that could produce it directly for the restaurant. The whole intervention, so we transformed 300 square meters of roof, and this intervention was done only by private fundings. So it was a totally bottom-up process. We have been sustained by bank foundations mainly, but also private companies who decided to invert their corporate social responsibility fund on the project. So we went through all the jungle of Italian administrative system and laws, as you can imagine, because this kind of interventions in Italy are not acknowledged in the local regulations, are not helped in any kind of forms. Even if we were implementing a green roof tech, which is actually considered a technology, an architectural technology for, energy, for the improving the energy performance of the building. So for sustainable architecture. But despite of that, we didn't have any kind of facilitation. So for us, it was a kind of real challenge, but this was also important, I think, because we opened up as pioneers a sort of, process that informed also the local administration on the benefits of such kind of interventions. The other, I think, interesting aspect of this project is, as you can see, even if because it's more considered not to sell the produce, not to make profit, but for being mainly a social project. So we have involved different kind of volunteers that take care of the garden together with the guys that works for the restaurant. As I said, the restaurant is a social cooperative. They employees disadvantaged workers. So we have different kind of people with different needs. We have worked a lot with refugees. This roof has been also not just a place where to rebuild the relations with the other inhabitants, so to get into contact with inhabitants, but also a training context. There was the guy you saw before is Azik. He was trained as a beekeeper. In fact, we have also as you can see, apiaries on the roof. We produce honey, and now he's working for an actual agricultural firm that produce honey. So it's interesting. And also the garden is used for educational activities. So it's very used by local schools who comes there, come there with the children, of course. And what else? Oh yes, we also how can I say? Yes, we also test, the circular economy process, because we collect rainwater and we use it to for the garden, and also we use the compost of the restaurant for the garden. So this is an interesting circle that we could control. But I think another important aspect of this project was that thanks to this intervention, we raised the attention of the public administration, as I said, and it really was the trigger for the renovation of the entire building. So they decided that 4 years later, 3 years later, to invest public money and recover the courtyard and also the another part of the building. So now we have 2 green roofs thanks to them, and we are working on a cultural project that keeps together the roof with the functions below. The idea is to open up a community hub. It was opened for the first time after the first lockdown this summer, and now we are working on the cultural program of this place. So I think it's interesting to see how this kind of, even if our small regeneration practices, this could really be triggers of bigger and most interesting process. Yes, just the one thing I want to say, because it's very, I thank you very much for inviting us, because all the experiences I've heard since now are super interesting. For us, it's very interesting to understand better the business model of those projects who are mainly focused on profit. We can be economical sustainable, because actually we need some funds also to support the project. It's not self-sustained, especially for all the cultural activities we organize. And I was thinking that maybe it is also related to the fact that first, the surface is small, so we cannot have a relevant production that can be valorized. But maybe can this depend also on the food market? As you can imagine, in Italy, even if we are in a quite big city, there's still a good interaction between the countryside and the city. So we have a lot of farmer markets in the city. There are also a lot of urban agricultural projects producing in the city. In fact, we are also part of a network of urban gardeners from Turin. So it might be interesting for us to understand who are their clients, because since we want to keep this project socially oriented, so we don't want to have just rich clients. So we are thinking, I think for us it might be so interesting also to have a conversation on this topic, together with, of course, all the experiences you have with your public administrations, because I think that this kind of interactions between public bodies, between people who makes laws, might be so important for us.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's really valuable that you're saying. I do have to say, I love it that you are calling the sort of regulations side of things the jungle, because I think that makes it more, attractive to actually dive into it. But I think, it's really interesting what you're saying also about the specific Italian circumstances where food and as you say, the more regional farms and the city are actually well connected. I think we could learn from that in the Netherlands for sure. We have our food markets here and there, the farmers markets, but I think rooftops here are really also an easy way for even children or regular people, anybody, to be in touch with farming, even not being on a big scale. Yeah, I think this is something we should really address in the conversation later on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and hopefully also see you soon at some point. And from Italy, we are traveling actually back to not too far from where we are, and we'll stay in the surroundings for the next parts. Bram is joining us from Antwerp, and I think he has.
Hello, everyone.
Bram was already there very early on, so you are in time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really a Belgium trait, but
no, it's really nice to hear the story. So I really wanted to join early to get to know every project. So yeah.
Yeah, so Bram, you're joining us from PAKT. I've never been. I'm really, really eager to travel also with all these presentations even more. Have you been? Yeah. Have you met? Yeah. Of course, yeah. I've
been there, but Emiel has been a couple of times because he likes the place so much.
I like the place so much because there are several roofs and they're connected with bridges and stairs, and you can see them on the picture, and that's what we want also.
Yeah, I think Winnie Maas is also, I don't know if he visited, but we're also dreaming of connecting rooftops, and you're already doing it in Antwerp, so that's amazing. Yeah, Bram, share your insights and stories with us, please.
Yeah, so to give a little bit of background about our project, we started in 2016. I was actually ground zero farmer for 4 years, and so I was losing my land because of a big problematic situation in Belgium and possibly in all of Europe, is the access to land young farmers, but that's another meeting. We can talk there hours for that. But so I had no farmland anymore. But there was a coincidence. Actually, a guy came to my field and he introduced himself. Youssef is his name, Youssef Yaman. He said, Bram, I have something for you. You have to join me. And I stepped in his car and drove to the city. So I was really amazed that he drove me to this site. It was all abandoned actually at the moment. Actually, it was very beautiful. There were trees growing everywhere. So it was a little bit artistic. There were like lots of bands has their rehearsal facilities there. So it was actually a abandoned place, but of course there was some life, artistic life. So, but Youssef told me that he wanted to renovate the buildings and such, and so he hired me for 1 year. So it was really, I was really privileged. I was really, it was really nice to hear this from him, that he wanted to create urban farm. So I had no experience with rooftop farming. So yeah, you can do it like a slideshow. It's I have no there is no
more of the bridges.
Yeah. So so we started to experiment in 2016. Like it was mentioned before by the other projects, it was a search for the right kind of soil, water access. So I was fortunate that Youssef hired me for 1 year to do all these kind of tests. So it was a private investment from Youssef into his building project to promote this as a urban farm. Of course, the buildings underneath the farm are now rented as working space. So we have lots of companies there. We have a pizzeria, we have a beer brewery, a coffee roastery, all kind of small business. So that was the intention of the project developer, to get his buildings nice, like a promotion for his cita. So so yeah, I started with great optimism in 2016, and farming on rooftop is a little bit different than on the ground zero level. So yeah, of course, like the problems you all know, the water, we have to find the right substrate. And of course we had, because you see it are old buildings, we had, of course, an engineer there, and actually we had 3 engineers. The first 2 said, no, you can do anything on the roofs, because we have some roofs are a wooden structure, wooden metal structure, and the roof where this picture is taken is actually our most heavy roof. We can support some places 600 kilos square meters or even more. So that was really a challenge. So as you see, actually we made like our growing containers out of IBC barrels. So they're mostly on the edges of the roof, because there you have the most supporting capacity. But we wanted, of course, this is an old picture, it's from 2017, I guess. Of course, we wanted to have more production square meters. So you can see here, some of the roofs have like these strange organic lines. Those are hay bales. So we use every year, we do this now for 5 years, we use hay bales as growing medium. So we have more than 100 hay bales. It starts in March, actually. So in March, there is like a really a nice event happening. So we are taking all those hay bales to the rooftop, because this is a really interesting medium for us. It's really low weight substrate. It only weighs around 30 kilos, one hay bale, when it's wet, and it can support a really nice growing medium for the plants. So actually, everything grows on it, from corn to beans to courgettes. We had a really nice potato harvest last year. So out of the limitations of the rooftop, we created opportunities. So we are constantly searching for techniques. So on this picture, you see this metal structure. It's like a vertical hay bale test case that we did. Actually, it worked very nice. So a lot of things we are testing and trying out of the limitations of the roof, because this rooftop is our least can bear the least of weight. So it's a wooden metal structure. So we are really limited in our soil layers. So
are there too many people on the rooftop at the moment of the photo?
Actually, yeah, this is I hope my insurance company is not looking over my shoulder, but no, actually, yeah, there is like a limitation of 8 people on this roof. So this is not really confirmed.
That's okay. That's okay. But I think it's really good that you're emphasizing this really interesting challenge. And as a zero farmer, or like a ground zero farmer, you're used to something else. Like the earth can carry a lot, but rooftops actually cannot carry that much.
Yeah, we have to find the balance between what a plant needs, what the engineer said, and what the building can bear. So it's in our case, it was really very difficult because, like I said before, the first engineer said, no, Bram, you can do anything. Yeah. The second said, oh, maybe some sedum. And then, of course, we had a really good third engineer, and he made really the calculations per square meter. So, and that's a thing that you hear a lot, because we hear a lot of questions of other people want to start a rooftop farm. They go to an engineer, and he said no, because the engineers want to have their how do we say it? We say it in Belgium. They have like an umbrella they want to open, so they're protected if there is something wrong.
Exactly.
He's not accountable for this. So there is I think there has to be a lot of work. We have to find a good rooftop engineer who can set to all those projects. So that would be very nice.
I think we could actually make a project out of hiring maybe a couple engineers that are just working for rooftop farms only, and that would be a really good idea. I know actually that Brian from Cork is also doing experiments on sheep wool. So you're doing hay, but he's also growing plants on sheep wool. And I know that in the Netherlands, this is a big waste product, and actually Blue City, one of our circular economy hubs, is doing experiments at the moment with, can we maybe use sheep wool as a substrate element as well on rooftops?
Yeah, exactly like you said. It used to be sheep farmers had around €3 per sheep of selling wool. It was way back, but now it's even a cost for the farmers. You get 10 cents out of 1 kilo of wool. Yeah. And they have to have a surplus, just like it's treated as waste. So I think those kind of relations are really interesting, to use very lightweight substrates who can induce full-grown plants. If we have this under control, I think a lot of more rooftop farms could sprout, because you can grow anything on roofs that are maybe have wooden structure or some other
thank you so much.
That was our search actually to do so thank you for having me, and to
of course
kind of meeting. It's really
very
nice
welcome.
to see the projects and to listen, to hear everyone's experience. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, Bram. Thank you for joining us and sharing inspirational stories. We're going actually not too far from where Bram is. We're going to Brussels, where we are going to, the before last farm, and very interesting. We're kind of finishing with the biggest, but then afterwards there's also a big dreamer part of our presentations, Miriam later. But first we have Jens, the Laat from BIGH.
Hi, everyone.
Hi there. You are present very well.
Yes. Thank you very much for having us, and thanks for all the other speakers for showing their project. It's really interesting seeing the way you guys do it, because it's fairly different from what we do.
Actually, I have to admit something, because you shared a lot of photos without any people on them. So I did look up a photo where you are in the picture. Because as you're saying, it's very different, but I think the social aspect, the farmers behind the produce should also be visible. So there you go. You can start with a picture of yourself.
Yeah, so to explain, that's me in the greenhouse. I'll explain the project a little bit from the beginning, because I'm actually not the founder of the project. That's a man named Steven Beckers. He's a Belgian architect who knew that there was a building, a market hall being constructed in Brussels, and there would be, they were planning to do an urban agriculture project on the rooftop. He put his weight behind it and started looking for funds. And in the end, there was an urban rooftop aquaponic farm constructed, as you can see on this picture very nicely. So it's a 4,000 square meter rooftop with 2,000 square meters of production inside the greenhouses and 2,000 square meters outside, more or less. The outside garden is run by a non-profit organization. So we share it with a non-profit organization. So that what you see on the left side is what they do, and we are mainly, BIGH is mainly focusing on the greenhouse production. And as we're on this picture, it's maybe easy to show the different kinds of production that we have. So firstly, the outside garden, but we also have an aquaculture system. So we produce fish. And as aquaponics it's like a combination of producing fish and using the water that they grow into to water plants, and actually also using the extra nutrients that the fish leave in the water. In the hydroponics production. And so within this aquaponics system, this is the first part. We have an aquaculture system raised on the roof. Seeing that it was a new building, it was already, it could still be calculated to have the higher weights on the roof, and the structure could be reinforced because the basins that you, or like the tanks that you see on this picture are 10 cubic meters, so they're 10 tons each.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the weight that this roof can carry is quite high. We have 14 tanks altogether, and we are planning to produce 20 tons of fish a year, which is exactly this fish, a rainbow trout. People that know us a little bit might know that we did another fish, or we're producing another type of fish originally, which was a striped bass, but it was a very hard fish to commercialize in Belgium, and now we're going for a salmon trout, which is much more adapted, or like better adapted to the Belgian market. And we're actually commercializing our first fish only next week. So these are this is a nice preview of some fillets that one of our colleagues made, and they're actually not available yet, but will be commercialized next week. Then the water that we get from the fish, or that it's a recirculating system. So the water recirculates because of a biofilter, but there's always a certain amount of wastewater or water that we have to refresh anyway. And we use that for our horticulture or plants production. That is divided in two parts. You see the first part here, it's a greenhouse with aromatic herbs. We have 6 to 9 varieties depending on the season, going from basil, parsley, coriander, thyme, sage, and so on. And we sell them mainly at local supermarkets and smaller stores. Recently, we made a change to a more ecological packaging that you see on this picture here. We're very thankful for these stores that they The partnerships that we have with them are quite good. And as I wanted to say, we just changed to a more ecological packaging, so that's why we have the paper bags. And the third part of production, or the second horticulture part, is a vegetables greenhouse of about 750 square meters, where we grow cherry tomatoes, aubergines, mini peppers, spicy peppers in hydroponics. So as you can see on this picture very clearly, they're in bags of substrate, which means that we're not producing organically, or like we don't get the organic certification, but we're on a rooftop. So this is definitely the best way, and we try to work in a sustainable way as much as possible, and not to use any pesticides or antibiotics in the fish system. It's just because we're using hydroponics that we're not, we can't get an organic label on our products. But maybe that's, I don't know if that's interesting. Then you see some aubergines, and in the back, fairly interesting product is some very tiny tomatoes, some Tomberry tomatoes, the tiniest tomatoes in the world. So those are the main 3 parts production areas that we have in the city center of Brussels, or basically just outside on a market building. And just to give you an idea of the size, so the city was 2,000 square meters of production. We plan to produce 10 tons of tomatoes or vegetables altogether a year, and about 200,000 pots of herbs. So our main goal is to become a productive, commercial and profitable farm, and to turn this lost space of rooftops inside the city into productive areas. Circularity is really important in that within our concept. So that's why we have the aquaponics system, where water recirculates firstly in the fish system, and then afterwards gets reused for the plant production. These are just some pictures of the vegetables that we have in one of the greenhouses. And another way that we use circularity, or that circularity is part of our project, is that we also, or like the advantage of being on the roof where we are, is that there's quite a lot of fridges downstairs that create residual heat, and we can use that heat actually to heat our greenhouses, and thus considerably lowering our energy consumption. And apart from that, we do a fair share of visits and events as well. So because we know that we have, as many of you guys do, we have a fairly exceptional and unique location. We invite people also to come here and enjoy it, and we also see it as a huge educational thing, kind of our duty to spread out the ideas that we have, and like teach people about what urban farming can be and how you can be productive in a city.
Yeah, wow. I think we're a bit blown away by the amount of stuff that you grow, and I think we also have a new animal added to the rooftop farmers. We have fish. Yeah. Have you tried it? Yes. How is the fish?
It's I can honestly say that it's very good. We've tried our first fishes over the past few months, and the taste is very nice. You wouldn't say it's grown on a rooftop, but it's. I'm really happy to go out to restaurants and in Brussels and offer them fish, the most local fish they've ever seen. And in general, it's the big advantage is that we can deliver it or get it to them super fresh. So
and they're not so hard to catch, I imagine.
No. Exactly. We don't need fishing rods.
No. Yeah, thanks so much. I think it's really great, I think, to have these really also different examples. And as you were saying, the rooftop was also built new, right? For the amount of water. I was like, whoa, that's not possible on rooftops that I've been working on. So that's really interesting. Also, if you're talking about regulations, can you actually provide sort of a frame where new buildings can take into account that they could actually provide maybe space for a rooftop farm? So that's important knowledge for sure.
Exactly. As a side note, maybe with future projects like ours, aquaponic projects where you have an aquaculture system, it might also be an interesting option to put that aquaculture part on the ground floor or lower, so you don't have to have that support and put your horticulture or your plants production on the rooftop, because that's like they need to profit from the solar energy and the light.
Yeah, interesting. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, see you in Brussels or hopefully in Rotterdam at some point. And say hi to your colleagues, to Stephen and the rest.
I will. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you that you can join.
Anybody who wants to come and visit us is more than welcome.
Well, hit him up in the chat, I would say. Thank you, Bram. And for our last presentation, we're obviously running a little late, but the conversations were so good already. But least but not last, I have to say, we're inviting Miriam. And Miriam is, right, there she is. Miriam, hi there.
Hi.
Hello from the studio. Yeah. Welcome, and I think it's really cool. I'm going to share my screen, of course, but I think you can maybe say a little bit. You've been in touch already with Wouter and Emiel. You've been in touch with other rooftop farmers, rooftop restaurants.
Yes.
Why?
I feel a bit shy because, and also thankful for the invitation, but there's no, I'm no rooftop farmer yet. So I'm honored to be in this group of people. Because I do have the dream to start one in Tilburg, the south of the Netherlands, city close to Belgium, actually. I wasn't born there. I grew up in a small village on the countryside on an organic dairy farm. And when I came to the city to study, it really surprised me and fascinated me how little people know about food production and the impact it has. I think the current discussion in the Netherlands with all the farmers really shows that the impact is huge of food production and that a lot of improvement is to be done. Yeah, it fascinated me. People in the city don't know much about it. So it always triggered me, okay, how can we solve that? And my experience was that many city farming initiatives used to be a bit dull. And then I traveled Scandinavia in 2019 and I came across OsterGro. I don't know whether I pronounce it right, but then I thought, okay, wow, this is it. This is how you can bring nature and farming back to the city in a way that really attracts people who are not interested immediately by the subject or know much about it. So this is where it started, and I thought, okay, Tilburg, let's go. Tilburg has a lot of difficulties with heat and flooding, as many other cities, I think. Of course, besides the food production story I want to tell, the green roofs really can partly solve that problem too. So I said to myself, let's go, let's try and make it happen. Of course, inspired by all the nice examples there are already in across the world. Yes, so this is where I just stepped up and I cleared my agenda fully. So there were 5 days in a week to just make this project happen, but I didn't know shit about how to do it. I have my background in communications, so this is what I thought. I just made up a brand, Rooftop Rumour, and I thought, okay, let's get the rumors going. So I started spreading my dream and initiative, and I asked an artist to draw my ambition and dream. That's the next slide, I think. And last year, this has been spread throughout the city via many, many ways. And now I can say this resulted in some really strong partnerships, I think. with the municipality, for example, but also, for example, with Interpolis. The building actually of Interpolis, it's a large assurance company in the Netherlands, and they have their hometown in Tilburg, and the building is actually drawn on this picture in the back. They want to join, and by spreading the word and making partnerships across the whole city, I'm trying to make this dream happen. And now the big question, is there a roof already? And I'm happy to say that there are two really serious options at the table, both of 3,000 square meters. So it's very exciting, and yeah, the roller coaster continues.
Yeah, thanks so much. I think it's really cool that you're dreaming so big. And I was already looking at your Instagram feed, and what I think is really cool that as a soon-to-be rooftop farmer, you already look for inspiration with all the other farmers that we are actually also hearing today and that are joining. So I think you do belong in this list. That's why we invited you, of course. And in one of our workshops, you will also be talking with Rob Luik, who was formerly working with Binder, but is also one of he's the secretary of the Rooftop, the Dakakker Foundation. And I think it's really cool in the rooftop scene we do, and we've heard it through many of the presentations. There's so many hurdles and the jungle, as Emanuela said. We need to really work together to get all the knowledge that we need to make steps. And I hope you have an engineer on your side as well to make the right calculations. As Bram was saying, you really need the right engineer. So if not, we have one. Glad to share.
Perfect.
And I think that will be really cool for you to dive into technique in the workshop during the lunch.
Yeah.
And I think maybe for you, adding to the list of already long sort of wishes and needs for the other rooftop farmers, what for you is the most? I think interesting that you're talking to Interpolis, healthcare insurance. Healthcare, like, is that something that you would want to add to the table?
They actually are not triggered because of healthcare, but because of damage to roofs. So they really are trying to encourage people, business as well as just private, citizens, to realize, make green roofs on homes and businesses, just to
protect the buildings.
Yes, and they actually have their own product. So you can buy a green roof from Interpolis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's another layer to to the conversation. I think that's really interesting. Also, in terms of impact, I think rooftop farmers are always focused on the social aspect or the food or the education. But the fact that you actually add something to the building that is very positive, that's a really good angle. So thanks for adding that as well. Thank you, Miriam. We hope to see you next year, and then you'll have beautiful pictures of your first rooftop. And
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. We're very sure. Yeah. Thank you. Well, please stay with us, because I think now we will be, sharing a little bit more about our future as a network of rooftop farmers. What are your first impressions after all these presentations?
Well, I think there's a lot of knowledge and experience gained in the last 10 years. And it's, I think, just the beginning of a movement. And I hope it will be exponential, the numbers of rooftops growing. And it might be essential to exchange this information and all these experiences. Yeah, so I think a more compact way to discuss with people, to talk with them, and to keep the network tight.
Yeah, I wonder why it's in every city is a rooftop farm. We see some cities, but why is it so difficult to make more rooftop farm? Why there's only one rooftop farm in Rotterdam? Perhaps because of the Italian jungle. We have regulations. We have to. So we want to expand, or we want other roofs, or in Rotterdam. make rooftop farms like perhaps in Brussels with more production and so on. So perhaps it's possible to create a sort of chief rooftop person to tackle the jungle, to tackle the regulations, because that is one of really the biggest problems. And find, of course, the right roofs and owners of roofs and convince them, and we can convince them to show our roof. That's what we do.
Yeah.
But I wonder why it's so difficult to make more of these farms. They're quite popular. You see that the city government always use our pictures when they go to other presentation, other countries and so on. So that's.
It's a good question. I think maybe I'm curious if one of the other farmers from Europe, you can just raise your hand if you have an addition. Is there a talk of a movement within your city that you hear of other people wanting to do it? I think Emiel's saying correctly that it's mostly one farm in one city. Is that different for other people? I think maybe technique. I think Brian wants to say something.
Oh, Italy.
Brian actually taking part of from his car.
Yeah, I'm on the move listening. Sorry.
This is great.
I think one big. There's speaking to, for example, the first person who put a rooftop farm in Ireland was a guy in Dublin, and he ran into prohibitive costs with when he went to this to get a fire certificate and get insurance. It was a big deal for him. I think it was going to be €60,000 in costs just to make the place basically legal to have people on it. What we're in talks with is with a multinational food chain about putting rooftop farms on each of their supermarkets. So they have. So I think having there's examples of it around the world where supermarkets have a food production facility on their rooftop, and I think some kind of symbiosis with a big a company or whoever who has maybe the capital to push projects on can maybe spread the rooftop movement quicker, because a lot of these big supermarkets or businesses, they have infrastructure, they have car park spaces or whatever. They don't necessarily utilize them for production, but if they can look at that angle of having a production facility incorporated and be forward thinking, then that's definitely a way to maybe spread it quicker. And that's something we're hoping to have started by this time next year, to have the first one in a supermarket. So it might be an option for other cities to approach supermarket brands, and then they can offer something with higher value and obviously fresher than what they're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I think you're actually adding two really important points. There's a car in the parking. Okay. I think the insurance one is really important as well, because I'm also working on a rooftop project, and it's really hard to get even our volunteers that are working on a project with construction or something to get them insured. So I think that's a really important one. And I really like that you use the word symbiosis, of course, but that's, I think, a really key, and that was also one of my questions, like who are our partners within the urban environment that we can team up with, that we can well, of course, we can already show them the dream projects that we've all been building all over Europe and the world. But I think having other partners that are actually also lobbying for us instead of us always trying to, get the farms going and building it up from literally scratch and the black tarp. Thank you so much. I think that's really good additions. And I'm curious. I already connected you to people in Dublin as well that are working on a rooftop festival. So hopefully, I think this is something. Of course, a rooftop festival can also help.
Definitely.
That's something good. Good luck on your ride. I hope you're going to the farm.
I am on my way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that really did come up, I think it's a good one to say, we want more rooftop farms, but what are they built out of? They're built out of rooftops and then soil. There's also a lot of different techniques that came by today. About the soil, like, do you think that there should also be, I don't know, European soil research?
Well, we did, because when we started, you thought about it. It was really a disaster in the beginning. First year, the salad was like little trees and tried to survive our substrate. This little stones of volcanic stone. And then we developed together with the company who supplied us a special soil for rooftops, a lightweight substrate with enough feeding or enough for the plants.
Yeah.
So we developed the first 3 years rooftop farmers soil.
Yeah.
And that's especially for, not like in Copenhagen, because it's a parking garage, but especially made for roofs where the weight is a problem.
Yeah.
So that's developed already.
Yeah. I think because I heard everybody say, all the rooftop farmers, we didn't know what to do. It was a big experiment and we tested it. It would be really cool to have a sort of soil experiment or like a soil book of all these different farms that now have been growing for the last years. That would be something.
Yeah, I think it's depending a lot of the construction. Because the stronger the construction is, the heavier of soil that you can use, and the lighter the construction is, the lighter your substrate has to be, and the lighter your substrate has to be, the more challenging it is to grow crops.
It's complex what you're doing, growing stuff on rooftops. I think one thing that also came by a little bit, the educational part. The rooftop is a new layer, new land, I also like to call it, on top of the city. Some of the rooftop farmers are really focusing on the social part, bringing people up on the rooftop. Also, you guys are really working on education for kids, especially. How can we, basically provide a next generation with a lot of knowledge about farms, but also rooftop farms, and especially in the city, the rooftop. How and where can we plug in the knowledge, would you say?
I think yesterday we talked with Rob, who is also in the board of the NGO of the Dakakker, to have interdisciplinary programs between schools and the universities.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can tell a bit more of that?
Yeah, there are several levels. So we do the education with the grammar schools, children from schools in the city. Every week we have 2 mornings with children with a nice program. I do a workshop at 12:30 about it. And then we are trying to invade the universities and the academies and so to make a sort of program about greening roofs and making intensive roofs, also like rooftop farms.
Mm-hmm.
So we are thinking about this to make a sort of integration of several studies and make a program for them.
Yeah. I think
Very
I'm
important.
curious if other farmers are also already into education or maybe wanting to collaborate on this. I think that's some of the things that could be really well done on a European level as well. As we're also going to round off, I would like, if possible, could we highlight all the farmers? Is that possible? Okay, so we're going to highlight all the farmers because I think what we want to finish with this morning, and I want to say I'm super inspired myself. I'm really happy that we were able to bring everyone together and that it went so smoothly. But I think we're also going to look forward because this is the first moment that so many rooftop farmers joined together, albeit in an online environment. But I think we want to set sort of goals and directions for the future. So what shall we do? Shall we do a meetup in fall? Do we want to start a group on another medium? Like what should we do? I think that's really cool to kind of aim for something that we can look forward to. Wouter, you were already saying maybe a meetup in the fall. Carly, how would that be for you in Copenhagen? Perfect. Okay, I see thumbs up. That's good.
Yeah. Sorry, I was muted, but I think that would be a great idea, and it would be really exciting to actually get to see some of the projects that we heard about in person.
Yeah, I think that would be a really cool tour that we could visit all the farms together and do experiments on each other's soil. Maybe also, because that's one other thing, exchange seeds of plants that are doing really well on the rooftop, because I think everybody's experimenting and trying things out, but sharing these specific things can be really helpful to actually grow a wider movement, as we want to say. I think highlighting many people, or maybe people have already gone, but that's okay. We're going to, that Bram is still there. Jens. Yeah, Miriam is also there. Very well. Yeah, I think we want to finish off with a quick wave at each other, and then we can say that we started a Rooftop Farmers network, and we will see each other again in the future.
René, nog wel.
Heb je nog even? Ja, oké. Helemaal goed. Wouter, what are your last words?
Good question. I hope to meet the farmers in the near future, face to face, on their farm, in the land, with our hands in the soil.
Wonderful. Emiel?
I hope Rotterdam will be the host city of the next, perhaps World Conference, because there's a lot of things happening also in the United States and Indonesia and Singapore and so on. So that's my dream, that not only the European rooftop farmers will be there, but also our colleagues in everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Perhaps a World Conference of rooftop farmers in next year, or perhaps with the rooftop days together, which would be very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really good to dream big on this topic as well, and to really
stay dreaming.
Stay dreaming, yeah, exactly, and also connect everybody that's doing really great work on rooftops. Yeah. What is up for us? You're doing a workshop later. You're doing a workshop later.
We both do workshops.
It's a pity that we cannot join the other workshops, but I
true.
heard that the organization will record all the workshops.
Everything will be recorded, so you can join the workshops afterwards via the website or whatever.
That's good to know, and also for the other viewers. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, well, this is a goodbye. Thanks everybody. Also the audience. I saw a lot of questions coming by, and if there's questions still unanswered, we will answer them afterwards. Thank you so much for joining, and I think we can go over to Léon.
Yes. Well, it's not finished yet because we have a tradition every Knowledge Day. This is our 6th Knowledge Day, and we always have an award. That's our tradition, and the award is called the Dakheld. It's the rooftop hero. We award someone who has done great things for the benefit of rooftops, of rooftop usage. We've had guys who did very early aquaponic rooftop farm in The Hague. We had someone who made an orchard possible up on hospital, which was very special, but also people who worked really hard on regulation and laws on benefits for rooftops. Last year, we had our first international rooftop hero. That was Bruno, because he's from Portugal and he started there without knowing anything from rooftops, a rooftop movement, a rooftop network in Europe, which was very inspirational. And maybe also one of the things that we really loved to keep on going with this international network and also this network of rooftop farmers. But helaas, not as other years, we could have people here. We could not have the rooftop heroes here in an audience and surprise them with flowers and things like that. So we have to do it all online. But we still do it because we think it's good to award people. And as every year, someone of the board of the Rotterdamse Dakendagen will present the award. And this year, this is Irma van Lierop. Irma, please come with me. I give the floor to you.
Thank you.
And we'll now go on to the ceremony.
We will. Good morning. Well, the initiative we would like to award as Dakheld, Rooftop Hero, is already amazing just for what they do. They have a great rooftop project, do meaningful things on their rooftop with water retention, biodiversity, education, and social cohesion. They are non-profit and they work hard because they love what they do. But they have grown beyond being meaningful as a rooftop itself. They have become an icon for their city, depicted in every brochure on how innovative and green their city is. And people from all over the world come to see what they are doing. And time after time, they explain to every journalist, TV maker, podcast maker, student, or international delegation why, what, and how they do what they do. They have almost become, after so many years, an institute. And then people tend to take all their hard work and rooftop love for granted, as they are something that was and is always just there. But we don't take them for granted. We want to say we love what they do and we think they are rooftop heroes. We want to award 2 positive-minded people for what they do. One has started already many other meaningful projects in the city with his stubborn and headstrong can-do mentality. The other one has a very gentle way of doing, but has also superb perseverance. He did not have any real experience with green before becoming Europe's first rooftop farmer. And like we said, they did not keep their knowledge to themselves, they share it. And we have this meeting here this morning because they wanted to share their knowledge and learn from others, bringing people together because of their enthusiasm for rooftop farming. We want to present Emiel van Rinsum and Wouter Bauman of the Dakakker here in Rotterdam as true rooftop heroes, echte dakhelden. Congratulations. I have a small pin, and you can wear it from now on every day, and it will remind you that you are a real rooftop hero.
Can I approach?
Yeah.
Some speeltje achter.
Congratulations. So try. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Congratulations.
Really unexpected.
Here. So, with some distance, congratulations. The flowers. Here you are. The real rooftop heroes.
Ja, is goed. Okay, well, that was a lovely morning, and I already kind of knew this surprise, so that was really exciting to sit on that. Yeah, if you want to grow a herb on your rooftop, pick something that can take the drought. And if you want to learn more about what to do with rooftops and other things on rooftops, join the workshops. The lunch workshops will start in about an hour. So take a break, take a little walk, get some coffee and tea. And we will see you back at 12:30 for the workshops. Thank you.